Okay, so good morning. We're on Facebook. So I put out a little post the other day, and the purpose of the post was to invite people to answer their questions live on a Facebook. And it's not live. We aren't doing a Facebook live, but we have the Faruq Hunter rants, and you can hear me scream and holler about all the things that don't make any sense, and try to prove facts and pull up data, and then deal with all the pissed off people who don't like to hear that data, and want to think that I'm arguing my opinions instead of something that's been proven otherwise. That's a very interesting format, but this format is not that. This format is Freedom Nation for Beginners. There are a lot of people that connect with us online. Real quick, back in 2016 and before then, we had a very light social media presence, and we were doing all of our speaking on the ground in universities, and other places, and it was good. We talked to different people, intellectual folks, and all that kind of good stuff. But in 2017, we decided in December 2016, January 2017, and then going forward, try to use social media as a means to test social media as a means to connect with people and see if we could connect better, and we could express the messaging better and identify people who had this strong desire to achieve freedom in their life. And it has been really good, I can tell you, because with the minimal amount of investment, not spending $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 flying around the world just to talk to a group of people who you only end up connecting with two of them or three of them afterwards, because everybody just kind of came for the event and left. Social media has given us the ability to really talk with people, and I should say at this point, to talk to people and then respond to them on the chat. But we need to take it to another level, and the next level is for us to bring it out of the chat room and bring it into the actual video conversation, and that's what we're doing this morning. So we have with us this morning a wonderful brother. His name on Facebook is Hashim Hanz Alinov, and I'm going to ask him to introduce himself as well. But he has told me that he has been following us on Facebook actually since 2015. So even when we were light, he was following us on Facebook, just to show you the power of social media. And now we have him here live. I'm going to let him introduce himself. And the purpose of this format is to answer questions about the Freedom Nation, to answer questions about the reality of transitioning to a free lifestyle, but to answer it specific for an individual, and that individual's situation might be very similar to a lot of other people's situation, and might have very similar questions that someone else might have, and hopefully this format would answer those questions for you. So without further ado, I'm switching over to Brother Hassan. Now I'm going to say Brother Hassan, but like I said, it says on Facebook, Brother Hashim. Which would you like me to refer to?
It's your choice, honestly. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Hassan Ali, and I go by Hashim Alinov on Facebook. I'm like the only Alinov on Facebook over there. Um, and so a little bit about me. I'm 33 years old. I'm actually I went to school for history and political science. Ended up getting into business and then moved into IT. Um, I've been following the freedom initiatives, like the various self-sustaining village projects that have been going on. Not too much, but I got briefly introduced to them back in like 2015. When I was in Northern Cali, there was something going on in Oregon, very similar, um, and but there was ups and downs. And from what I could gather, there's other villages and initiatives that are out there, but everyone's going through their ups and downs and whatnot. Somehow through the grapevine, contacted people, had mutual friends with other people, and that's how I came across your page, Mr. Hunter. And from there, I saw the website, I saw the promotions like, hey, get your freedom profile done, learn more about the project, see what's going on, do the boot camp. And I'm seeing this stuff, and I'm like, man, I need to get on board and do these sort of things, because I've been constantly like in my head there's constant debates about this sort of thing, and I'm
Mm.
seeing the world around me. I'm a student of history, and I've been seeing what's been going on in the world. It doesn't make sense. Like the stuff that's going on right now in our world today completely doesn't make sense. And it feels like the last 8 years we've been living a lie, and we've gotten complacent so much that we didn't know what type of trouble was basically around the horizon. And now, once 2016 hit, everybody's like, "Oh no, look what's going on! How could this be?" And we're looking around in this victimhood mentality, and I'm like, "Damn, I wish we kind of like held ourselves up with our bootstraps like 8 years ago, 10 years ago, But I mean, better late than never now.
Mm.
It is what it is. Better late than never. And I see this as a blessing in disguise, honestly. You know, um, there's a lot more stuff I could say, but I mean, I'll just keep it limited uh, over here right now. Trying to keep it kosher, more or less.
Okay. I think of social media as like I say it's akin to the new cable television, where people can complain about what they heard, so that can get us in trouble. But at the same time, people are a little more real than I think we give them credit for. So you might see me slip up every now and again and drop the F bomb or whatever. That is my apologies, but
Yeah,
it's a part. One of my greatest mentors, who I love with all my life, I used to laugh because he used to actually use a curse word or two in the khutbah at the member. I remember as kids, he was that song "Hoop There It Is," and he wanted to talk about the influence of radio and music on other people, and he would say, he'd say, he was giving one khutbah, and he was like, "Kids, you teaching your kids hoop there it is," and then my nephew, out of all the people, decided in the middle of the Jummah to say, "Hoop there it is," and all of a sudden he's like, "And look at that shape right there," and so. So I spent time with him in Sudan, and I was there when he passed, and I think I picked up a little bit of his cursing along the way. So that's just to say that social media allows us to get our word out, and I don't think people penalize us for being who we are. So, in this format, ask questions that are really direct, and the things that you think that some people might think, oh, that's really personal. But no, actually, people have the same problems, and you'd be amazed at how many things people are trying to work through, both mentally, physically, and in the real world. When it comes to this, they have this true desire to have freedom, to break out, to feel like they want to take control over their life, but they're dealing with so many demons and so many established realities, and we love to, I love to sit with people and try to work them out, because it does take some working out. But what I'd like to do is go ahead and start opening this up. Brother Hassan, I want to take your first question, and I know you have some, but definitely I'm going to leave it to you to ask the first question, and then I want to let you get it all the way out, and then I'm going to respond to you.
sure. I kind of wasn't too prepared with various questions. I wanted to see what other people had to say. Um, um, I mean, I don't even know where to begin, to be honest with you.
Now you're on the
Um,
spot.
um, I mean, I know the 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 thing is, like, we need a community. We need like-minded individuals that don't just talk about it, they're being about it. And one of the things that I really appreciate about you, that you're actually about it. You're being about it. Mashallah, your family, the community that you're with, and that's the type of community that I yearn for, basically. Over here in Chicago, I mean, I'm from the Pakistani Indian community, and over here, I mean, I feel left out. I feel like I'm not part of the people and whatnot. I mean, for various different reasons. It's just I don't feel at home over here. I don't feel like I have the right family or support circle over here. I mean, I come from a very troubled background, so to
Mm.
speak. I mean, poverty, broken families, people dealing with people with depression, mental disorders, stuff like that. I mean, that's the type of environment and background that I'm coming from. people who didn't really believe in me or my family or whatever, self-esteem issues, yada yada yada. The list goes on and on and on. The thing is, I personally, I refuse to be like identified by like my pain or struggle or whatever the case is, because I'm all about the future. I'm presently thinking about the future. The past is the past. Whatever, it's gone. So be it. It was the will of God. Um, what I'm getting to now is, I understand, like, I'm a product of the school system. I'm a product of my whatever surroundings and whatever I went through, and I realize the public school system is a scam. The college education is a scam, and I've realized that I've literally, for my college degree that I have hanging up on my wall and whatnot, I literally took so many student loans out that I'm
Mm.
an indentured servant, so to speak. I'm paying like $500 every single month for my salary. That took me 10 years to figure out what I wanted to do in my life, because my college degree, it wasn't something that didn't really pay me that well, you know? So, I mean, with all of that being said and done, now I'm all about trying to acquire the skills necessary to be able to survive without needing to depend on them, so to speak.
Right.
I mean, the thing is, freedom is ingrained not only just in our religion itself, but within, what we believe as a country in our constitution, for example. I mean, they used to say, give us liberty or give us death. you know and I think a lot of times, like, us in the mainstream, we tend to forget that. I mean, we have all these echo chambers on Facebook and whatnot, um but is it really going anywhere if we're
Mm.
not actually doing anything? And I feel we get caught up in this cycle. We're constantly in this loop. Like, you see that with the alt right and conservatives and whatnot nowadays. Like, you know, they're all for Trump and whatnot, draining the swamp, this and that and whatnot. And then when Trump consistently goes back on his word, consistently flip flops, consistently shows that he's probably not all 100% there. Like, they'll find every excuse in the book to back them up and whatnot. And at one point in time, you need to, like, deal with reality. Like, hey, dude, the person that's president right now might not be entirely all up there, you know. And it's sad that so many people get caught up in this facade, this deception. This dunya is a gigantic deception, it feels like, because, like, everything that I knew growing up turned out to be false.
Mm.
So when you're dealing with that sort of stuff, I mean, it's an existential crisis, so to speak. So that's why I'm just like, dude, forget everything, migrate, get out of here. And that's how I feel. And now, so my question is now, finally to the question, how can I prepare myself to make that transition, make that move and whatnot? Like, because the thing is, I mean, it's gonna take time, effort, consistency, and I'm down to do the hard work. I'm down to being consistent, but I need to make sure that I'm at that level mentally and physically to be able to handle that sort of stuff, whatever our projects require us to be. So, since you've been on the front lines, you've been on the ground, you've dealt with so many people who have went through this phase and this transition, and are working over there. I'm sure you've seen some people that were really adamant about joining but ended up dropping out, maybe.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you can provide? Like, how do we prepare ourselves? How do we make sure we don't get burnt out after like a couple of weeks or something?
Yeah.
Things like that.
So that's a very interesting question, and I can answer it best. I answer that question quite a bit, and the way I answer it is this: if you look at me, and if you can, like I said, social media is an interesting thing because it allows you to dial back on people's life and what was significant at that time. If you roll back 5 years on a person's profile, you can say, they were into some different things then. And at the time, at the time I was a different person. Let me explain that. If you saw me, it would have been like a little bitty goatee. It was all Mr. Professional, and I had my nice suits. I love my suits and I love my ties. Shout out to our brother Muhammad Geraldez and providing for me his John Jay ties with the nice little emblem of, this is me sporting them right now, the nice little
Oh,
sandal of
nice,
the prophet on the inside, right? You
nice.
see how I just reached down and grabbed this tie? It was because it's in a drawer with all my other ties. And it's underneath my
Nice.
desk, and I don't wear them anymore. Um,
Yeah.
so one of the things that happened was we were living in a 5,500 square foot home inside of a subdivision. And there was, I was living a typical life. I mean, I own a consulting firm. I'm gonna keep talking, but what I'm gonna have to do is just disconnect. There you go, reconnect my camera. But I own a consulting firm for years. I mean, for more than a decade, almost 2 decades now, and that's how I've been able to earn and take care of my family. And I got the great idea that it made sense to go around the world and fill the gaps in countries where they didn't really have strong IT, to go in there and build that capacity and fill the gaps. And I got wrapped into economic development and wrapped into trying to solve much bigger problems, and trying to figure out where IT actually fit in into taking a country's economy from one place to another place and taking people's lives from one place to another place. And that's kind of what led into the Freedom Nation. But when I came back from that experience and I realized that the solutions that were out there weren't working very well for people, they were, throwing a lot of money in people's face, talking about grants, talking about all of this stuff, people showing up to all these events, praying to God that the magic angel would come and drop money in their pocket, so they could fund their entrepreneurial concepts. So people had broken away from the work life and thought entrepreneurialism would solve their problems, only to hit a wall of lack of funding. So I thought it was just a big game, and it's not. When I started to analyze money, I realized, this is not a solution. This will never be a solution for everybody. There will never be enough. The function of money will never serve the purposes of the people. It's just not created for that. It's a product, and it's not created for that. So I came home with this serious thing about solving it, and I said, okay, well, let's just, let's start this thing. We got the plants growing in the backyard and blah, blah, very suburban, man. I mean, like, seriously, like really suburban lifestyle. And my kids did something bad. Like 2 of my sons, they did something bad. I think they smarted off on one of their aunties on Facebook. I think that's what happened. And they weren't even supposed to be on the computer, So I didn't want to. I kind of have gone a little bit soft. I have to admit that over time. I've been raising kids for 23 years now. So I've been going a little bit soft. So I didn't want to, spank them. Instead, I wanted to just punish them with something that I thought would be a hard task. So we had started a small aquaponics system inside of the bedroom. And this is one of those things that you can use to prepare. You start where you are, right? So you start experimentation in your current space. And this is what kind of helps that transition, because it kind of intrigues you. And then you start thinking, well, if I started a little aquaponics out of my fish tank with goldfish, and those salad greens were pretty tasty, could I scale this? Could I really do it? Like, could I pull it off? So that inquisitiveness that comes from experimentation in your own space, it is a necessity to continue to light and ignite and then increase the fire in your belly. And it's the fire you want. It's actually a fire of courage, right? The courage to go ahead and abandon what you know to be comfortable. Because I worked for the life that I had my entire life. I had a good 15 years, 14 years vested in trying to get to that point, to that earning point, to that living comfort level, to the 2 cars outside. I mean, we were, right before I abandoned that situation, we were featured in Black Enterprise magazine. We were the only Muslim family that you will ever see featured in Black Enterprise magazine. You flipped it open, and the feature was a whole Muslim family, not 8 kids and 2 Muslims sitting in the middle with a 5-page spread inside Black Enterprise. You don't see that, and we had achieved that. So part of this preparation, leaving that lifestyle, and like I said, it takes courage to abandon that lifestyle. It takes courage to abandon the path, and it takes wisdom to know when the path is not working, and you really do need to leave it because you're getting older, and if you don't do something to. So I sent the kids over to the property. We had a school, and we brought the house around the corner just to be a school. We wanted my oldest brother's Hafiz al-Quran, and he wanted to teach, and he needed a school, so we brought this house just to be the school for teaching Quran. That's what it was for. I sent the boys in the back, and I told them to take 2 shovels, and I told them to dig a hole 6 feet long by 3 feet wide by 6 feet deep. This is all I asked them to do. I mean, that's a grave, basically. And I asked them to dig this hole. Now, people dig graves in a day. That's the reality. They dig graves in a day. I wanted this to be our aquaponics uh, thing, our tank. These boys took a month. And I'm like, and if you see my sons, like if you're on Facebook, you see my sons, they are two big diesel guys. One's a bodybuilder, the other one, mashallah, he's one of the main builders in Freedom Nation, and he's just like muscles everywhere, and all this and that. So the fact that these two cats took a month, and you should have seen it, it was dramatic. Their mother was defending them, and I was the big mean guy. You're asking them to do things that are impossible. What could you do? And it was crazy. And I remembered when I was young, I had dug graves in order to make money for my family. I dug like 11 graves, and I stopped doing it because every time I went to the graveyard, I ended up digging a grave for a little baby and had to bury a baby almost every time, and it was really fun. But I remember that I'd sit out there and by hand dig 2 graves in a day. And typically didn't have any help, but maybe sometimes one person. And so I'm looking at my kids, I'm like, I know this is possible. I was 18, 19 then when this happened. So in 19, I had 2 kids. So now you're telling me you're 14, 15, big, strong guys, and you can't get this done. What the hell is wrong? Well, I'm doing something wrong. And then I realized that I was lying to myself, that there was absolutely no way to halfway transition into this space, that I was being hypocritical. Now, I'm just talking about me. I'm not forcing these terminology on other people because I would never do that. That's harsh. I'm being harsh on myself. I was being hypocritical to be suggesting this path for anyone if I wasn't willing to commit my own life to the path. So at that point, me and my wife and my kids, we transitioned from that space into what's now Freedom Labs. And Freedom Labs is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. And if you can imagine what it's like to put 10 people on 1 bathroom, using the woods becomes a necessity. That's the point. So we what happened is I think the biggest thing that we discovered was our hindrance, as far as the work was about application and consistent application. It was just, if you're there and you have to wake up to it every morning and it's your reality, we as human beings who have survived in this world, and especially adults, we will adapt to the work. Our body will change to the work. What does not work? Diet work is coming to volunteer on a Sunday. Most of our volunteers that volunteer for over a course of almost 2 years on Sundays never came back. And they never came back in a work capacity because they would realize how hard the work was, and that initial shock to your body, they leave. Our bank manager down at Wells Fargo, he came down here and he worked on the machine and made brick for a day. And I saw him I never saw him again out here, ever. Then I saw him 4 months later at another bank. He was managing another bank. And I was like, yo, what happened to you, man? I said, why you look all skinny now? You lost weight. He said, man, after working out there with y'all, I realized how fat I was. He said, I had to lose some weight. I was hurting. But the point was that, people in the boot camp, they start out here, and I tell them about the first week pain. I say, what's going to happen is you're going to run your body. On day 3, you're going to be in pain. You're going to wake up and you'll be like, oh, everything hurts. I don't want to get up. It's cold. It's early in the morning. And, this sucks. What the hell was I thinking? But you're here already, and we asked you to pay some money when you came, and the reason that you paid some money was to kind of force you into commitment because no one wants to waste their money. And then we put no refunds. So it's like, damn it, I don't want to waste my money. So I'm going to get up, and I'm going to keep on doing it. And then by the end of the week, you get that rest for the weekend. There's 2 days on Friday and Saturday. And then you wake up Sunday morning, and your body really is like, hell no. It's stiff, it hurts, it's achy, the joints are hurting. But then by the second week, you're no longer stiff. And then the third week, you feel like you're capable of doing things that you've never done before. Your body just changes. And within 30 days, the fourth week, this is the physical element of it becomes part of your norm. And you start functioning within the physical norm, no problem. So the suggestion is we created the boot camp out of design. We also figured that there was another issue. Over the last 4 years in testing with my children, it was the social element. It was the heart, the mental element that was keeping them from making these decisions. They had to break a lot of habits, like, I mean, a lot of them. And my kids found that they had to really learn how to work as a unit, which was beautiful for me raising them, because so many people would love to see their teenage kids get along with each other. My teenage kids, they get along with each other better than me. I mean, they'll gang up against me and, are very unfair and mean and cruel to me. But but they're together with it, though, so that's fine. But just to answer to wrap it in, my suggestion is you have to do small things in your life, in your space, that give you the courage. And this is the terms that have to be used. They give you the courage to break away from the current life. Everything that's in your life now that's holding you there are things that you've become used to. Your logic tells you that when you need something, you need to go to work. That's how your logic works, and you can't help it. You've been doing it for a long time, and it's worked for you, right? It hasn't taken you where you want to go, but you're alive, and you're talking, and you're eating, and you have somewhere to stay. So breaking that logic takes courage. After you gain the courage, you have to force yourself into a situation where it forces you to transform, and that's a leap. And I can't tell you there's anything less than a leap. So you build up the courage to take the leap, and then you take the leap. And then once you're over that ravine, you realize you're still on the edge until you walk away from it. And this is why we created the boot camp. It gives you the opportunity to walk away from the ledge. And so and the further you get from the ledge, the safer you feel. And that's exactly how it works. That's exactly how it works. I hope that answered that question.
Yeah, it has. Jessica Leclerc, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm just processing that right now.
So what else? If you think about that, let's build on that.
Okay.
If you think about taking that leap, what are the things that are in your life that are actually holding you back, that you feel, without getting overly personal? I know we don't want to put you out, but at the same time, there are some themes, right? What do you think it is that really holds you back from making such a transition?
I would say right now, if I had to boil it down to like three main factors, it would be probably like my regular day-to-day responsibilities, family related responsibilities, and then the whole financial aspect of it, to make sure that my family is straight for a couple of months while I do this boot camp, or if I'm going to dedicate myself to this project, I'm going to do this. Like, the thing is, when you're like the head of a household, and you've got like a mom and a brother to take care of, and where they can't take care of themselves, it becomes really hard to go ahead and make that jump, because you're worried about them. And so right now, the situation's gotten a little bit better, to where I'm like, okay, I could finally look into what I want to do, and the whole reason why I never got involved with the initiative, like for example in Oregon, for example, back in 2015, was primarily because of family responsibilities and whatnot. And that's really the only thing that's holding me back right now. Um, and then also, I guess what I'm also thinking about is, okay, let's suppose we make that transition, we go into the boot camp, we survive that 4 weeks, and then what, or is it too early to think like that? Or first we have to like take baby steps, like, because I know sometimes like things can get overwhelming when you try to, take a mountain worth of stuff, from day one. I don't know.
No. That in itself is a great question, man. And actually, it's two of them. So if you don't mind me splitting the two questions up, so that we can kind of break into two of them. The first one I wanted to talk about. So the two questions that I see is, one, what happens after the boot camp, and how does that work? That's the second question. The first question is, how do I deal with the life that I have and responsibilities I have, while I make this transition? And that seems to be the first question. So before I answer the first question, what I'd like to ask you is, like I said, without prying too deep, your household situation is it made up of wife, kids, or is it like parent and siblings? You know, who do you find your daily responsibilities falling upon?
So right now it's parent and sibling. Um, it would have been probably spouse a couple years ago had I decided not to like pursue that route. I figured to hold off on the spousal. So this is just a side thing.
She couldn't cook,
I'm at
huh?
that age. Huh?
She couldn't cook.
Oh no,
I'm
I
just
mean I
joking.
could
I'm
cook.
just,
No. I mean, there was a lot of various different things that went into my decision, and one of the things, the main factor was I wanted to be a better man
mm,
to find that righteous wife, because I noticed that the people that I was meeting were not the people that I wanted to spend my life with, and I think it all factored down to is like maybe I'm not the right person myself, and things don't really improve until you improve yourself and what's inside of you first.
right.
So before, like, you know, a couple years ago, I was just like, yeah, the dream was, marry a righteous spouse and move to a village or whatever. And then whenever I presented that to whatever my potential spouses were, they thought I was crazy for thinking like that.
You want me to live in a
So
tent? No, I'm just.
yeah. I remember this one girl. She came from Pakistan like 5, 6 years ago, and I'm over here talking like, we could do this. We could do our nikah. Then we go to this village. We could grow our own vegetables and stuff. And she's like, I just came from Pakistan 5 years ago to escape that life. You're telling me to go right back to it? So, and I understand the irony of the the situation. So I was just like, all right, I need to first, be about it myself before I could do anything. And this factors into um something that you had said a couple weeks back, actually. It was your 40th birthday, and you had mentioned that all of our prophets are in our tradition uh, became prophets right around 40 or a little bit after, you know, and um, and that's the thing. I'm like 7 years from 40 right now,
Hmm.
and I'm thinking like, what have I accomplished in this dunya right now, for myself, and I feel like I said earlier, the education system is a scam, student loans, even the paper fiat currency we have, the value of it. I'm sure you already know about this stuff,
Right.
which is why you decided to take action on it. So, being understanding this, like these green pieces of paper don't really have any value in them, and are you really trusting in God, or are you trusting the little dollar certificate or whatever? So I don't know. It, with all this aside and whatnot, that's that's what leads me to where I'm at right now, and just trying to make sense of everything and proceed forward.
No, so it
Because if you
sounds.
don't,
I'm sorry.
hmm?
I'm sorry. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, no.
Like, so if you're on a sailboat, it doesn't matter how good the wind is unless you know where you're going exactly. So you could use that wind to harness to where you're trying to get to. So if you don't have any idea on where you're trying to go towards,
Hmm.
it could be perfect wind, but if you don't know where you're going, it doesn't matter. You're just going to be swimming in circles. So you got to know where you're going exactly. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, so, that. So I'm gonna start and go back. So, that's one of the reasons that we knew, like even during our own personal journey to the space, we knew that we had to create pathways for other people.
Hmm.
We just knew that we had to because it was evident that it wasn't clear how to do it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And there were so many people who want to do it who needed to say, yeah, this other person or this other family did it. Like we've had, one of the brothers said, I think it was 2 days ago, he said, through the boot camp, we basically became an extension of your family. And,
Yeah.
I'm not using that.
Hmm.
For me, it is a bragging point. I'm very proud of that people feel like family when they're near us. I feel like that's a characteristic of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And so that's something I really take pride in. But the intention of that was that it's the direction, right? We by profession, I'm an analyst. By profession, I'm a program manager and a portfolio manager and a project manager, right? And by profession, I am a technician. I mean, if I really got technical with you, You know,
Yeah.
I can code in Java. I can code in C Sharp. I
Okay.
can code in
Nice.
PHP, and I'm a database administrator. I'm Prince two. I've taught Prince two certification as well as PMP certifications, and I helped build some of the business analysis, the BABIC when it first came out,
Yeah.
the business analysis body of knowledge. So I'm a total geek when it comes to process,
Uh-huh.
right?
Nice.
So what we did is it wasn't enough just to live our life, but we were guinea pigs in an experiment. And then we dissected and analyzed that down to a process and defined a processual method to go from, the jump over the ravine to a place where you could be fully established and then you could get all the things that you were looking for. And then we defined and clearly laid out these paths based on level of commitment. And we even defined the roles within the Freedom Nation, right? For example, I'm the investor in the Freedom Nation. I'm a senior elder. My role is to make sure that there are outside funds that bring things in that we don't currently create to compensate for what we don't create until we get to the point where we do. Whereas the Freedom Builders are responsible for actually building the infrastructure, utilizing the tools and the land that we invest in. We have a pass through in the general store, and the pass through in the general store is I just use really bad terminology. I will never say that again. It is not a pass through. It is not a pass through. That is a legal term. It's a bad legal term. It gets you in trouble. So it's not a pass through. It is a place where people who are saying, I want to work for myself, I want to build for myself, and I need a conduit by which to purchase things that will make my life comfortable. Then we created the general store so that the owner of the general store, us, we could invest in the general store, and we invest our products, like anything that you need every day that you buy, soap, detergent, onions, cabbage, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you buy it with the Freedom Credit, and the Freedom Credit is based on an internal thing that happens that we exchange with each other. So we're in the Freedom Credit space, but we extend out and we do that, and that it creates an arm for people who know that they might not be earning traditional money during
Yeah.
the 2 years that they're building their life up for themselves. But we create this process, right? Right now, what we're talking about is freedom builders. But we have we actually have four key areas, right? Freedom builders are those people who want to trade sweat equity for the life that they want to go into. Freedom makers are those people who want to learn a skill and develop that skill in their own space and sell their products to Freedom Nation or through Freedom Nation's resale spaces in order to earn freedom credit so that they can later buy their house instead of going out and building it. And then we have just traditional buyers. We talk to them about building their home, and they buy it like they would buy any other house. And then from there, they integrate into the space. We ask that they bring value to the space in order to generate the credit to sustain their life. So the credit is just a thing that happens when you generate value for other members of the Freedom Nation inside the village. So, and the last one is someone who just wants to be that reseller. They just want to grab things from Freedom Makers and they want to sell it out to the world, and they want to earn credit and take part in that process of the whole thing. So just isolating our conversation to the Freedom Builder space, we're faced with many people who have to look at leaving their current lifestyle to come into this lifestyle. Now, first I'll tell about their commitment, and then I'll say about the commitment that puts on us. When I say us, I mean not just Faruq Hunter. I mean everybody that's currently a part of the Freedom Nation that plays every role, including those of us who play investor roles that were actually putting money into the Freedom Nation to build it up. It creates a hell of a responsibility on us. But the initial responsibility, the initial commitment of that individual is that they do have to leave the life as it is. They have to, and I'll tell you what some people have done. We've had a couple that basically sold most of what they owned, and then they stored away some things that they didn't really want to get rid of. We provide storage at Freedom Village for free for the Freedom Builders, so they can store their goods for free if they like, we don't want people to lose things that are very valuable to them through the transition. And we want to help as much as possible to make that easy for people. So we've got at least 2 people now that we're storing their goods up for them, and we give them the key. So you take the key. We don't want any responsibility for it. That's your storage space. You check it and make sure your stuff is good. We don't want people to lose things that mean something to them. In that transition, talking about this one couple, I remember doing this when I moved to Malaysia. I had 4 kids at the time. I was like 22, 23. I moved myself. So I moved 6 people, including myself, to Malaysia. And I had never, I lived overseas in Sudan by myself before, but I had never lived with my family. And it was scary. It was scary as hell. I have a lot of courage, but when we hit the ground, I think I left my life here with about 15 grand in my pocket, right? By the time I got to Malaysia, I had $1,000. Oh, wow. And it was to have 4 kids, to know almost nobody in a place that you had never visited before, with $1,000. It was tremendously scary. But we worked it out. You know what I mean? It turned out well, and it's a permanent experience in our life that we stayed there for a year, and we lived well too. At some point, we really got into a mainstream. Hung out, would go out, eat every night, and take trips. And I flew all over Taiwan, and I flew down to Thailand and everything else, and went to India. It was you take a leap, and the leap is painful, and you can't expect it not to be painful, because you're breaking away from what you know. So those individuals, this young couple, this is what they've done. They've taken away. Now they're excited. So the excitement is healing the wounds of the disconnection. and there was another brother who did that too. He was single in his situation. He did that. Now, about brothers who have children or other big responsibilities, right? There's another brother here has 9 children. There's another brother here who has his wife equivalent. I'm not going to say wife. I mean, he's not a Muslim brother, so he's nothing hold against him about his lifestyle. But then also he has his daughter, and he has responsibilities to them too. The brother with 9 kids, what I tell you he did is he found a way to build an arm into that world. So every 6 weeks, he goes out for a week to 2 weeks to try to make sure his family situation is straight. And that's in New Orleans, by the way. So he drives all the way back to New Orleans, and he starts working with that situation. And then he comes back, and he improves it. Great thing is happening today, actually. Today, his wife and his daughter are coming into town today. We were out at Freedom Village yesterday, and they cleared out this huge segment of the woods, and we built what we call Tent City. It's a temporary living space for people working on their homes. And, I say a tent, but it's a really beautiful, big structure. He built this structure up. Yesterday, we tarped it with this beautiful canvas and everything else. And he got his whole living situation. And then we took and we built furniture. So we actually built beds, built end tables, built desk, laid down nice rugs and everything else. When you walk in there, it's like the Casbah, man. It's, he's now got the Casbah, and his wife and daughter come to stay for the next week, because now those people attached to him are now going through the transition as he prepares a space for them. And another one I'll say is my son Muhyiddin. Muhyiddin, of course, was in this space. He understands that he's got another 2 to 3 years to finish his home, and he was just dying to get married. And we drove all the way up to Pennsylvania, and we told the parents, as well as my new daughter, we said, listen, it's a very high and likely possibility that if she marries him right now, she's going to live in a tent for a little while. I said, let me just be honest. And, there was all this moves. They're going to kick my butt for saying this out loud, but there was all these moves to put in the contract. She will not move until there's a house, no tent stuff. I was like, you can write whatever you want in the contract, but when they're married and she want to see her husband, it's going to be what it's going to be. So, we are currently dealing with a lot of different situations like that. And each person has to make provisions as they see fit. What I would suggest is you think about how to reduce the cost of your lifestyle as much as possible. And then if you need help like transitioning, that's what we're here for. You know, I've taught, one thing that I think people in this space don't know is that in this same house as Freedom Labs, we started the first software, the IT boot camp in the Southeastern United States in this house. And we ran it for almost 2 years, and we have several people out there that are six-figure earners because we gave them 4 months worth of instruction, mentoring, actually, not instruction. So I'm also open to mentor anybody who wants to convert to a higher paying job, higher paying lifestyle, so that they can then pay into that lifestyle, save up some money, and then make this transition. You know, don't look at it as an overnight thing. And working with us isn't like, I'm ready, so let me go talk to Faruq. No, let's start talking now, and let's start breaking it down, and let's make it work. We're willing to do the one-on-one thing. So that's that one. That's that one. And there was a second question that was there. As far as your personal responsibilities, like I said, we talk one-on-one, and we do this with everybody here. Everyone here has had a one-on-one, not just consultation, but constantly, let's work together. And as much as you want to let me in and as much as I can help, you've got me completely committed. My role here is to help people with that transition. That is my specific role, is to make it so that people can take this leap in their life. Now, the second question, before I ask the second question, does that give some basis of how we deal with the first question?
Yeah, it does. It does. It definitely makes a lot more sense, and I'm glad that you actually took time to explain and list it out and offer the consultation. And you're absolutely right. We should start conversating like right now rather than later, like when you're actually ready to make that transition. Because I mean, it's a big step, and you can't just make on a whim. You can't do things on a whim at all. Okay, so what I'm taking away from that, the response that you gave, was trying to downsize as much as I can, minimize my expenses, just generally minimize every way possible, and talk to you, consult with you, one-on-one, and then go from there.
And let me add too, though. There's some other things too that we don't take advantage of well. In our country is a lot more concerned with helping out businesses than they are people. Yeah. Our legal system is structured that way. And there are some things that people overlook, especially when you have dependents in your home and you're the head of the household. There are some serious things overlooked when the head of the household decides to take a journey. Now, this journey that you take with Freedom Nation, you are an independent entity. As far as, you're an independent entity working in a collective. So it means you have your own specific goals, but you're utilizing the collective to help you get there, because they are bonded by other similarities as well, and similarities of purpose. We encourage people to go beyond that of just saying it, and to make the legal establishment of it as well. So incorporate, take and transition your assets into the company and out of your own personal name. When I tell people that I own nothing, I really mean that. Like, you cannot find Faruq Hunter's name on anything. And there's a purpose for that, because I'm a servant to the purpose that I'm trying to get to. And there's ways that if you take time to structure things appropriately and legally, and we are a stickler for doing things in a proper legal way. We don't want anyone to be visited on about any legal issues that they might run into. We do a lot. We have a lawyer on staff. We have a lawyer that works with us. We have more than one, but we have one. And we have a full-time CPA that works with us too. And they consult Freedom citizens, and they consult people trying to make this transition. So when I say that it's not just Faruq just talking with you, I mean, I'll open up our whole thing for you, because we want you to transition, and we want to help as much as possible. And we want to deal with the things. And we want to, if there's ways to take what you're currently doing now and provide you with additional funds, or reduce things like tax liability and stuff like that, things that people aren't aware of. If you're starting your own business, this is starting your own business. This is going out to learn a skill you're doing capacity building for your business, and then you are investing in that future for yourself, then you there are certain things that our country already gives to you that a lot of people are not taking advantage of. They're not aware, and they're on the books. Some of it was even increased, and this is an odd thing to say, so don't be, don't go around claiming that Faruq Hunter was in love with Trump. But there are some things in the last tax package that actually benefit people who position themselves as small businesses instead of individuals. And we should take advantage of those things. We really should.
Definitely, absolutely. Yeah, that's an area of knowledge that I don't really know too much about, but I do know I've heard it from other people as well that it's better to be your own limited liability corporation, for example. It's better to have that rather than under your own name and whatnot, just because of creditors and legal issues and stuff like that. Like for example, for me, I've had 2 years ago. I had this really bad situation where a creditor put a financial hold on my bank account through the court systems and whatnot, and it was something that was really shady. When I didn't have enough due process on my end, and for all intents and purposes, it was a scam. But for that 3 weeks, I had 5,000 in my account, but I couldn't access it at all, whatsoever. And I was literally asking other people for money and telling them I will pay you back as soon as I get this resolved. So I didn't ever want to be in that situation ever again.
Yeah, I want to show it to you real quick, and I'll just tell you, because I'm speaking it, I got that covered up good enough. Okay, so like I don't have even a piece of money that I spend that's not part of that, and it's not my expenses. I mean, it's evident. I can sit down and I'll sit with any auditor and show him that I spend every single dime I have on investing, on building the capacity. You can't tell me buying tools and taking classes is not a business investment. It is. That's exactly what a business investment is. So that's to be said. But the second part of that was what happens after the boot camp, right? Mm-hmm. And we're nearing about an hour, so I want to keep us to that format because on social media, an hour is a lifetime. So it's, and we haven't argued once. So like, people's attention span when you're not screaming at each other is really low. So I'll just say this right now, brother, you got glasses on, your 4 eyes. Oh, whoa, no, let's fight. No.
Just to bring the attention back.
Bam, that's right. We just got a whole other 10 minutes of watching time right now, just because we kicked up some.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, my nose looks funny. Bam, we got it. All right, let's go. Boom, boom. The other one is about what happens. So first of all, one thing I really want to make it, known about what happens with the boot camp. The boot camp is a transitional space. It is the transitional space. We ask people to make moves towards reducing their life before they come to the boot camp, but to leave their life in such a situation where up to the end of the 4 weeks, if you decided not to do this, you can go back home. Mm-hmm. Our transitional space is on 2 acres. It's actually on 1.5 acres. That is Freedom Labs. That is off of Camp Creek Parkway inside of Atlanta, Georgia. And we're right butting to the city. I can get to downtown Atlanta in 20 minutes. And that's, even through the weird Atlanta traffic. So the purpose, I tell people when they come out here to the boot camp for the first time, I say, okay, our training center, our training space is here. And the street is there. So you can make a choice to stay here, or if you get tired of it, you can go right there and you can leave anytime you feel like it. And it's an easy space. We don't want you to go all the way into the woods somewhere and then have to ride all the way out of there. No, we literally want you to say, man, I'm tired of this shit. I'm gonna see you later, man, and just walk away and just leave it if you want to. This is not for me. But if it is for you, then I tell people second, third week, there's a little trail that goes up the hill and up to the front yard where the cars are at. And I say, the more you go up that trail, the less you're attached to the space. And the more you stay down here, the more you want to transition out to the village. So what happens is over time, within that 6 weeks, they find themselves going up that hill less and less and less and less and less. And those are the people that then transition to the next step. Next step in our process is not to do anything for the Freedom Nation. The next step in that process is to do 100% things for you. Now, the machines that we use to make our products, like make the brick, to make the lumber, they are not machines that can be operated by a single person. They have to be operated by a crew of at least 4. And we've made some investments in automation and increasing the ease in the process, right? The way we teach people in the boot camp is all manual. You throw dirt up against a screen. You have to work this machine by hand. And if you ever seen it online, part of you is like, oh, those brothers are working it. Yeah, right. but you're looking at it. You're saying they're working it, but on the other hand, you're like, what the hell? That's hard. Oh my God, no. So I'm going to take 5 seconds. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that we're using this format where we can search online, and I'm going to kind of exploit one of our partners. Now, we flew down to Campo Grande in Brazil, and we partnered with this company that's one of the first companies to automate the compact brick machines. And we had this joke going while I was there. You know, when we got finished with the class and stuff, one of the ladies who's there, she's an awesome person, you know, she was like, so I showed you our machines, and you see now, you know, our guys, they just made 100 brick in front of you, and they don't even have any dirt on their shirt. See, this way people won't leave you, Faruq. They won't leave you because you're not overworking them and you're not beating them up. So I look at her and I say, well, you know, I got a problem with that. I say, because my sons and my daughters are like really in shape and they look pretty great right now. So getting them husbands and wives is like pretty easy. If they get on your machine, they're going to get fat. And I said, so you're going to have to give me a whole bunch of Brazilian wives and husbands to make up for my loss. And her answer was, of course. Tell me how many you need. I'll send them with the machine. But what I want to show, yeah, right. That's awesome customer service. I'm going to do a quick screen share, just enough to show this. Let me see if I can capture it exactly. Okay, so I can capture this right here, and I don't think that that's going to work the way I thought it would. So let's just capture the whole screen. Bear with me 1 second. Screen number 2, share it. And I'm going to move that over there. Yes. And I'm going to make this nice and big. And this is Eduardo. He's awesome. Eduardo has trained us on this particular brick. Those are all the bricks that are made from this one machine. This is the machine that we actually have on site at Freedom Village. Oh, wow. Cool. It's pretty awesome. And if you see his pace, he's making a brick every 8 seconds. We have the capacity to make 12,000 bricks a day on this machine. And Eduardo prides himself on the fact that they'll never mess up their shirts while they're doing the work. So this is, we take people from this manual process to this automated process out there on the property. You know, there's a little restaurant that we're building out there. You know, you walk from that space, you sit there at lunch and you eat your food, and then you get back to working again. We've invested in backhoes and pallet lifters so you can just lift the brick up and just drag it over to where it belongs. So we try to do as much as we can to make it easy. And I'll stop that now. Eduardo's pretty awesome. I'll just tell you really quick. We were talking with Eduardo, and we were out there making brick and stuff. And he says, you know, he's back there smoking a cigarette. And let me stop this video. He's back there smoking a cigarette. And he's looking at me and the brother Suleiman work as we're setting it up. And we were working. You working just like I work out here at the lab, where you can the process you working. And he's back there just. He's looking at the lady. He said, they're in Brazil, so they didn't get the fact that we were Black Americans. He was like, those are the fastest working Africans I've ever seen in my life. And the lady, her excuse was, yeah, they're not African. There's something else going on there. So, you're over there in a corner trying to figure out you guys. It was hilarious. But so needless to say, we're trying to make the lifestyle at the village. We're not trying to stay in a primitive state. We just know that there's certain skills and certain values that are built in the primitive space that are hard to get otherwise. And so it's good to start there. But once as soon as you finish the boot camp, you transition to a space. We give you a plot, like a plot within what we call Tent City. And Tent City is this structure. I'm sorry, I'm moving away from the microphone, but it's this structure that's here, and we've master designed this structure to give people temporary housing. And there's a cooking area, there's bathroom facilities, and then everyone designs and builds a platform. So you go out there and you cut down, you clear your own space, you then build your own platform, and then once you build your own stable platform, you put your tent on the stable platform. It's a 200 square foot tent. It's a nice space. It's bigger than the room I'm in right now, and it's enough to put like a bed. And we give you the materials so that you can. Well, actually, when you cut it down, you're making your materials. We show you how to take those materials to make a nice, comfortable bed. You know, a headboard, footboard, nice, comfortable furnishings the way you like, and give you everything the way you like. And then, from that space, you sit with us and we master design. So we actually have a full design studio. I can't show you around this office right now because outside of this camera, this office is really dirty. So, so it's a little bit of magic. Oh wait, there's a box over there. Hold on, the lights are starting to come on. You can see it. There's a little bit of magic to that. But to say that we have all of our high resolution oversized printers over here, our plotters. You know, we deal with a full Autodesk workflow. You know, we design fully in Revit. We're craftsmen. We have structural engineers that have been retained by the Freedom Nation. All of this is being given without you paying a dime towards it. And the only thing we're doing is we're trading, right? You're working for yourself, which means you'll inhabit the village, which means if you inhabit the village, then that means that the better your lifestyle is, the more that we'll work together in the future. So we're willing to invest in that transition. And so you sit with us and you actually design your house. You don't have to pay it. And I'm telling you, designing an off-grid house with designs that can actually pass code is expensive. It's really expensive. It's like 20, 30 grand to do it. We give you that. You don't have to pay a dime for it. That's just part of the process. And you go from there. Like I wanted to open this up for you so you can actually see it. I'm going to open up 2 designs for you really quick, and then I'm going to share my screen really quick because I wanted to put something behind this, right? The tent. I'll show you the design for Tent City. We also designed our own. I don't know if you saw that online, but we actually designed our own tents. So we actually designed the joints, everything else. We went into Autodesk Inventor, and we actually designed it down, and we lay out the design plans, sit with everybody, and consult with them how to build against these designs. So we pride ourselves of having a full design house in the Freedom Nation.
Cool. That's awesome, mashallah.
You know, so like I said, there's so much here that's been done to try to make things so that all you have to do, once we know it's hard enough to commit to do this, to let alone be sitting there trying to figure out every little piece of it. So here's like an example of Tent City. There's an example of the elevation of one tent. Here it is here. Here's a 3D perspective. Right now, the guys have built out this area here, and they've built out this area right here. So this is already done, and we set these tents up yesterday. And, you know, they built the platforms. Everything. That was the first crew. They came right out of boot camp, and within 4 weeks, they had cleared out all the trees in this area and built this space up. And we, like I said, we give them everything. So we actually give them this thing that lays out the tent base, that lays out all the measurements and everything for that. You know, this is, it's not, look, I've been to eco villages and stuff like that, and there's all kinds of things going on, but there's a level of professionality that we insist on that I'm telling you doesn't really exist in a lot of those spaces.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things that I've noticed. And the drawing over here shows that. Now, where you guys are building the tents, is that where also the future village is going to be right at that same location?
So
or are they going to be 2 different locations?
Yeah. So the tent is actually, the Tent City is located in a space. Let me give you the actual site plan here. We're still working on some of these plans, but the actual space, it encompasses around us, right? So there is a village around us there. This, by the way, is the actual structure that our first structure we're building. So this is this 58,000 square foot home. It's 2 levels. There's a basement level and top level. And to give some perspective, I think this gives a good perspective. All right, there is the actual house.
Oh, cool.
And so we have designed this structure, and what you're seeing is the basement underneath this line. This is the basement level. We designed the structure to give anyone who joins in this boot camp for this year, next year, and from last year will have a 2,200 square foot living space inside here.
Okay.
And it offers a pretty decent lifestyle because it's like being able to be, I'll just show you like here the way it's designed. We took on the South Korean hammock design. And so we thought about flow, wind flow, sunlight, all these kinds of things that make life good and wonderful. But then we thought about individuality. So you can actually walk from outside into your house as if it was just you, right? But at the same time, you walk out your back door and you walk into a shared courtyard. And from the shared courtyard, you meet your neighbors and you see everything else. And we've put a lot into working with the county commissioner, the building commissioner, to try to make sure that this is something that can be passed, can go to code. We're working with the building inspectors to ensure that the process is really smooth. Like I said, all of that's paid for you. Only thing we ask is go out there serious from the boot camp, start making brick with your fellow crew members, and start building on the design. We use an interlocking brick, and the interlocking brick allows us to work really fast. And so we think that we can finish this within the next 2 years.
Inshallah.
And so this is verbatim what you do when you leave the boot camp. You go into this space, you put in your general store orders on Tuesday. From your general store orders that you put in on Tuesday, we deliver all of our provisions on Saturday. We are in the process of setting refrigeration. We set up this concept called Bowl, which is pretty awesome, where we actually take and we make, a variety of different things from chicken stocks to vegetable stocks and curries, different types of curries and stuff. And we leave the sauces there, and you come up to the bowl and you get your vegetable, you get your curry, you get your starch, whether it be noodles or rice or like naan or chapati or something like that. We have an obsession. I'm not just talking straight to you. We have an obsession with creating Indian roti. I'm just letting you know that right now. So, my wife, part of our transition, my wife taught everyone in the house how to make roti, how to make naan, and then how to make like I have an obsession with like roti chennai, and stuff like that. Yeah. So we all know how to make that. so we make the breads, the rice, the noodles, accessible handmade noodles, hand rolled noodles, and other noodles with egg, without egg, because we have different people with different plant-based lifestyles. And then you take it and then you put it in the bowl, and it's like a hot pot. So you get your sauce going, you put your starch, your meat in, or your vegetables, and you put your starch in, you add it up. It's like eating pho or anything else, but the way we've calculated, but the way we calculated is that if you give, I think we got 10 sauces, and then you give meats and vegetables, then you got like some 300 dishes you can create. And so, you can create 300 dishes right there, and then all of the seasonings are in front of you that we provide. So all of that's there on site. You go into this comfortable communal lifestyle. You immediately start working on your own house. And the idea is within 2 years, barring anything might go wrong, 3 years. So I tell people to plan for 3 years, even though our goal is 2. And then you go and start building your house. And that leap that you took is solidified once you have your house built, because now you have your home. You have a 2,200 square foot home. You have your facilities in there to do any kind of work. You're a part of a community. You've built relationships with these people, these individuals that you can depend on and trust. You've built your house with them, and you're there. So this only covers a little spot of the village. The village is much bigger than this, about 6 miles of road on the village. But this is the immediate thing that anyone coming through the boot camp would do. So we try to make it easy for you to make that leap. Once you make that leap, we support you wholeheartedly.
For sure. Hey, thank you so much for presenting that. Seriously, I think you've definitely like clarified a lot of different questions that I had. And I have a whole host of new questions for you for our next episode, inshallah.
So I'll send out the link, and then we'll join in. I know we went even over the time that we specified by 9 minutes, and we're getting into the day. So, Brother Hassan, let me say this. It was beautiful meeting you. This is face-to-face. It's not like in person, but it's face-to-face, though. We were face-to-face.
It is. It is. It's a one-on-one conversation we just had, mashallah. It was definitely a pleasure speaking with you today, Mr. Hunter. Do you mind if I call you Mr. Hunter or Farouk
Call me Farouk,
or
man. We're brothers, man.
All right, sure, that's definitely. But man, I respect you. I love you for everything that you're doing, mashallah.
Mashallah.
Like seriously, from the bottom of my heart, man.
Mashallah, mashallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all successful in the things that we try to do and to please Him. And may Allah bless your mother. And I know it's a humongous. Let me just say, I know it's a humongous responsibility, and it says a lot about a man that he takes on his family and responsibilities, and that he thinks about them in all his actions. So, anything we can do to help you transition, you have my full commitment, and it's not a joke. When we get off, I'm gonna shoot you my personal phone number. Call me whenever you feel like it. I'm more than willing to help you make these moves.
Thank you, brother.
All right.
Look here.
Inshallah.
Appreciate that.
Assalamu alaikum
All
wa
right,
rahmatullahi wa
have
barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Inshallah. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Take care.